Chapter 21 The New England Holiday Betimes in the morning of the day on which the new governor was to receive his office at the hands of the people, his refined little pair came into the marketplace. It was already thronged with the craftsmen and other plebeian inhabitants of the town. In considerable numbers among whom, likewise, were many drow figures whose attire of their skins marked them as belonging to some of the forest settlements, which surrounded the little metropolis of the colony. On this public holiday, as on all other occasions for 7 years past, Hester was clad in a garment of coarse grey cloth, not more by its hue than by some undescribable peculiarity in its fashion. It had the effect of making her fade personally out of sight and outline, while, again, the scarlet letter brought her back from this toilet in thick thickness and revealed her under the moral aspect of its own illumination. Her face, so long familiar to the townspeople, showed the marble quietude which they were accustomed to behold there. It was like a mask, or rather like the frozen calmness of a dead woman's features, owing this direct resemblance to the fact that Hitler was actually dead, in respect to any claim of sympathy, and had departed out of the world with which she still seemed to mingle. It might be on this one day that there was an expression unseen before, nor indeed vivid enough to be detected down, unless some preternaturally gifted serf should have first read the heart. It had afterwards had a corresponding development in the countenance and mien. Such a spiritual seer might have conceived that after sustaining the gaze of the multitude through 7 miserable years as a necessary penance, and something which it was a stern religion to endure, she now, for one last time more, incurred it brutally and voluntarily in order to convert what had so long been agony into a kind of triumph. Look your last on the Scarlet Letter and its word. The peoples within a lifelong bond slave, as they fancied her, might say to them, "Yet a little while, and she will be beyond your reach; a few hours longer, and the deep, mysterious ocean will quench and hide for ever the symbol which ye have caused to burn upon her bosom." Nor were it an inconsistency too improbable to be assigned to human nature. Should we suppose a feeling of regret Hester's mind, at the moment when she was about to win her freedom from the bed which had been thus deeply incorporated with her being? Might there not be an irresistible desire to quaff a last, long, breathless draught of the cup of wormwood and aloes, with which nearly all her years of womanhood had been perpetually flavoured? The wine of life, henceforth to be presented to her lips, must be the rich, delicious, and exhilarating in its glazed and golden beaker, or else lived an inevitable and weary languor, after the least of bitterness wherewith she had been drugged, as with a cordial of intestate poncery. Bread was ticked out with every gayety. It would have been impossible to guess that this bright and sunny apparition owed its existence to the shape of gloomy grey, or that a fancy, at once so gorgeous and so delicate as must have been requisite to contrive the shouts of Pierre, was the same that had achieved a task perhaps more difficult, and imparting so distinct a peculiarity to Hester's simple robe. The dress, so proper was it to little pair, seemed an influence so remarkable, development and outward manifestation of her character, no more to be separated from her than the many-hued brilliancy from a butterfly's wing, or the painted glory from the leaf of a bright flower. As with this, so with the child, her garb was all one idea with her nature. On this eventful day, moreover, there was a certain singular inquietude and excitement in her mood, resembling nothing so much as the shimmer of a diamond that sparkles and flashes with the varied throbbings of the breast on which it is displayed. Children have always a sympathy in the agitation of those connected with them, always especially a sense of any trouble or impending revolution of whatever kind in domestic circumstances, Per, and therefore Per, who was the gem of her mother's inquiet bosom, betrayed by the very dance of her spirit, the emotion which none could detect in the marble passiveness of her brow. These effervescences made her flit with a bear-like movement, rather than walk by her mother's side. She broke continually into a shout of a wild, inarticulate, and sometimes piercing music. When they reached the market-place, she became still more restless, on perceiving the certain bustle that enlivened the spot, for it was usually more like the broad and lonesome green before a village meeting-house than the centre of a town's business. "Why, why, what is this, mother?" cried she. "Wherefore have all the people left their work to-day? It is a play day for the whole world. See, there is the blacksmith; he has washed his dirty face, and put out his Sabbath-day clothes, and looks as if he would gladly be married, if any kind Berry would only teach him now how. And there is Master Brackett, the old juggler, nodding and smiling at me. Why does he do so, mother? He remembers dear little babe, my child, answered Hester. He should not nod and smile at me for all that. The black green, ugly idle man, said Per. He may nod as if he will, for thou art glad in grey, and wearest the scarlet letter. But see, mother, how many faces are strange people, and Indians among them, and sailors. What have they alone come to do here in the market-place? "They wait to see the procession pass," said Hester, "for the governor and the magistrates are to go by, and the ministers, and all the great people and good people, with the music and the soldiers marching before them." "And will the minister be there?" asked Perla. "And will he hold out both his hands to me, as when thou leadest me to him from the brook side?" "He will be there, child," answered her mother, "but he will not greet thee to-day, nor must thou greet him." "What a strange sad man is he," said the child, as if she speaking parallelly to herself. "In the dark night time he calls us to him, and holds the hand in mine, as when he stood with him in the scaffold yonder, and in the deep forest, where only the old trees can hear, and the street of the sky see it. He talks with thee, sitting on a heap of moss, and he kisses my forehead, too, so that the little brook will hardly wash it off. But here in this sunny day, and among all the people, he knows us not, nor must he know him. A strange, sad man is he, with his hand always over his heart." "Be quiet, Per, thou understandest not these things," said her mother. "Think not now of the minister, but look about thee, and see how cheery is everybody's face to-day. The children have come from their schools, and the grown people from their workshops and their fields, and purpose to be happy. For to-day a new man is beginning to rule over them, and so, as has been the custom to mankind ever since a nation was first gathered, they make merry and rejoice, as if a good and golden year were at length to pass over the poor old world." It was a Hester said in regard to the unwonted jollity that brightened the faces of the people, into his festal season of the year, as it already was and continued to be during the greater part of 2 centuries. The Puritans compressed whatever might in public joy deemed allowed to human infirmity, thereby so far dispelling the customary cloud that, for the space of a single holiday, they appeared scarcely more grave than most other communities at a period of general affliction. But we perhaps exaggerate the great or civil thing, which undoubtedly characterized the mood and manners of the age. The person now in the marketplace of Boston had not been born to an inheritance of Puritanic gloom. They were native Englishmen whose fathers had lived in the same generation of the Elizabethan epoch, a time when the life of England, viewed as one great mass, will appear to have been as thoroughly magnificent and joyous as the world has ever witnessed. As they followed their hereditary taste, the New England serials will have illustrated all events of full importance by bonfires, banquets, pageantries and processions, nor would it have been impracticable in the observance of majesty ceremonies to combine mirthful recreation with solemnity and give, as it were, a grotesque impression embroidered to great rough state, which a nation at such festivals puts on. There was a shadow of an attempt of this kind in the mode of celebrating the day on which the political year of the colony commenced. The dim reflection of a remembered splendor, a colorless and manifold deliberated repetition of what they had beheld in proud old London, we will not say at royal coronation, but at the Lord Mayor's shop, might be traced in the customs which our forefathers instituted with reference to the annual installation of magistrates. The fathers and founders of the Commonwealth, the settlement, the priest and the soldier deemed it a duty then to assume the outward state and majesty, which, in accordance with antique style, was looked upon as the proper garb of the public or social eminence. All come forth to move in procession before the people's eye, and thus impart a need that degenerate to the simple framework of a government so newly constructed. Then too the people were countenanced, if not encouraged, in relaxing the severe and close application to their various modes of rigid industry, which at all other times seemed of the same piece of material with their religion. Here, it is true, were none of the appliances which popular merriment would so readily have found in the England's Elizabeth time, or that of James, no rush house of a theatrical kind, no minstrel with his harp and legendary ballad, nor gleeman with an apple dancing to his music, no juggler with his tricks or mimic with witchcraft, no merry Andrew to stir up the multitude with jest perhaps hundreds of years, but still effective by their appeals to the very broadest sources of mirthful sympathy. All such professors of the several branches of jocularity will have been sternly repressed, not only by the rigid discipline of law, but by the general sentiment which gives all law its virality. Nevertheless, however, the great honest face of the people smiled, gravely perhaps, but wittily too, nor were sports wanting, such as the colonists had witnessed and shouted in long ago at the country fairs and on the village greens of England, in which it was thought well to keep alive on this new soil, for the sake of the courage and manliness that were essential in them. Wrestling matches in the different factions of Cornwall and Devonshire were seen here and there about the market-place. In one corner there was a friendly bout at quarterstaff, and what attracted most interest of all, on the platform of the pillory, already so noted in our pages, two masters of defence were commencing an exhibition with the buckler and broadsword. But, much to the disappointment of the Crown, this latter business was broken off by the interposition of the town earl, who had no idea of permitting the majesty of the law to be violated by such an abuse of one of these consecrated places. It may not be too much to affirm on the whole. the people being then in the first stages of joyless department, and the offspring of sirs who had known how to be merry in their day, that they would compare thoroughly, in point of holiday keeping, with their descendants, even at so long an interval as ourselves. Their immediate fostering the generation next to the early emigrants, were the blackest shade of Puritanism and so darkened the national visage with it, that all the subsequent years had not sufficed to clear it up. We have yet to learn again the forgotten art of gallantry. The picture of human lives in the market-place, though in general things was the saturated brown or black of the English emigrants, was yet enlivened by some diversity of hue. A party of Indians, in their savage finery of coarsely embroidered deer-skin robes, one pamphlet one-pamphlets, red and yellow ochre, and feathers, and armed with the bow and arrow and stone-headed spear, stood apart, with countenances of inflexible gravity, beyond what even the Puritan spectacle could attain. Nor, while as were these painted barbarians, were their wildest feature to the scene. This distinction could more justly be claimed by some mariners, a part of the crew of the vessel from the Spanish men who had come as far to see the humour of Elation Day. They were all looking desperados, with some black faces, and an immaterial beard; their white shirt trousers were confined about the waist by belts, often clasped with a round plate of gold, and sustaining always a long knife, and in some instances a sword. From beneath their broad brimmed hats of palm leaf gleamed eyes which, even in good nature and merriment, had a kind of animal ferocity. They transgressed, without fear or scruple, the rules of behaviour that were binding on all others, smoking tobacco under the bridle very nose, although each whiff would have cost the townsman a shilling, enquiring fain in their pleasure, draughts of wine or equivalent from pocket flasks, which they freely tendered to the gaping ground around them. It remarkably characterized the incomplete morality of the age, rigid as we call it, that a license was allowed the seafaring class, not merely for their freaks on shore, but for far more desperate deeds under proper element. The sailor of that day would go near to be arranged as a part in our own. There could be little doubt, for instance, that this very ship's crew, though no unfavorable specimens of the nautical brotherhood, had been guilty, as we should phrase it, of depredation on the Spanish commerce, such as would have prelated all their necks in a modern court of justice. But the sea, in those old times, heaved, swelled, and foamed very much at its own will, and subject only to a tempestuous wind, with hardly any attempts at regulation by human law. The buccaneer on the wave knight relinquished his calling and became at once, if he chose, a man of probity and purity on land. Nor even in the full career of his reckless life was he regarded as a personage with whom it was disreputable to traffic, or casually associate. Thus the Puritan elders, in their black clothes, starched bands, and steeple-crowned hats, smiling not unbenignantly at the clamour of the rude deportment of these jolly seafaring men, and it excited neither surprise nor immediate aversion when so reputable a citizen as old Roger Shamey were. The physician was seen to enter the market-place, in close and familiar talk with the commander of the questionable vessel. The latter was by far the most showy and gallant figure, so far as appearance went, anywhere to be seen among the multitude. He wore a profusion of ribbons on his garments and gold lace on his hat, which was also encircled by a gold chain in summer tanned with a feather. There was a sword at his side, and a sword cut on his forehead, which, by the arrangement of his hair, he seemed anxious rather to display than hide. A landsman could hardly have worn this garb and shown this face, and worn shown them both with such a galliard air, without undergoing a stern question before a magistrate and probably incurring fine or imprisonment, or perhaps an exhibition in the stocks. As regarded the shipmaster, however, all was looked upon as pertaining to the character as to a fish his glittering scales. After parting from the physician, the commander of the Bristol ship strode in through the market-place until happening to approach the spot where Hester Prynne was standing, he appeared to recognise and did not hesitate to address her, as was usually the case where Hester stood. A small vacant area, a sort of magic circle, had formed itself about her, into which, though the people were involved one another at a little distance, none ventured or felt disposed to intrude. It was a forcible type of the moral solitude in which the Scarlet enveloped its father were partly by her own reserve and partly by the instinctive, though no longer so unkindly, withdrawal of her fellow creatures. Now, if never before, it answered a good purpose by enabling Hester and the seaman to speak together, with the risk of being overheard, and so shame was Hester Prynne deputed before the public, that the matron in town most eminent for rigid morality could not have led such intercourse with less result of scandal than herself. "So, mistress," said the mariner, "I must bid this Edward make ready one more bed than you margin for. No fear of scurvy or fish fever this voyage. What with the ship's surgeon and this other doctor, our only danger will be from drug or pill, more by token, as there is a lot of apothecary stuff aboard, which it tried for with a Spanish vessel." "What mean you?" inquired Hester, startled more than she permitted to appear. "Have you another passenger?" "Why, no, you not," cried the shipmaster. "That this physician here, Shuttleworth he calls himself, is minded to try my cabin fare with you. Ay, you must have known it, for he tells me he is of your party, and a close friend to the gentleman you spoke of, he that is imperative from these old Puritan rulers." "They know each other well indeed," replied Hester, with a mien of calmness, though in the utmost consternation. "They have belonged all together." Nothing further passed between the mariner and Hester Prynne, but at that instant she beheld old Roger Shuttleworth himself, standing in the remotest corner of the market-place, and smiling on her, a smile which, across the wide and bustling square, and throughout all the talking lather, and various thoughts, moods, and interests of the crowd, conveyed secret and fearful meaning.